Good day, everyone. Happy Mobility topic 2025 trends shaping the Nigerian workplace. Our facilitator is a veteran in the HR space and also a veteran regular facilitator with HR mentorship community, and of course his community. His name is Patrick Umo. The profile for the benefit of some be getting exposed to him for the sorry about that technical glitch. So as I was saying, please do well to share the link for this meeting with your HR colleagues, associate friends. It doesn't matter whether they're a member of the HR mentorship group or not. Also, we'll be uploading the recording on the YouTube channel, Oluyemi Adeosun, within minutes after this live session ends. And we'll also take questions, comments, and also insights from members of the participants. If you have any comments or question as the session proceeds, please feel free to drop in the chat box. We'd also like to know where you are joining us from tonight. You can please drop your name and city or location where you are joining this webinar tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll quickly introduce our facilitator, Patrick Umar. Patrick is a transformational business leader, people manager with over 15 years progressive and versatile experience in human resource management and management in general, and his exposure cuts across not-for-profit, manufacturing, real estate, financial services, hospitality, oil and gas, and he has also been involved in successful deliveries of public sector people projects and intervention. Ladies and gentlemen, he has provided leadership over domains like people and culture, business strategy, operations management, strategic implementation, and so on and so forth. He's an alumnus of Rome Business School, where he bagged his master's in science in international human resource management. He's also a learned fellow. He has a degree in law from Lagos State University. Patrick is a member of various global, local professional bodies, some which include Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. Is a full member, also certified with the Human Resource Certification Institute, Senior Professional Human Resource Professional Institution, and is a member of Chartered Institute of Arbitrators of Nigeria, and so on and so forth, just to mention a few. At the moment, he is the head human resources with Romulus Group, where he oversees people and culture function while providing shared service support within the organizational system. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to hand over virtual control of this lecture to my brother, my colleague, a professional in the true sense of it, Patrick Umar, the song as it takes us on trends shaping Nigerian workplaces, HR trends. You have the floor, sir.
It's a pleasure. Always been a pleasure to share on this platform. I don't take it for granted. And once again, it's a pleasure to be back. I did this in 2024. I was privileged to share some of the trends that research showed would likely happen in 2024. Pleased to say that, some of them came to pass, as some are still on as we speak. And here again, we are on the precipice of a new year. And, I am someone who loves research. And they say, without data, you're just another person with an opinion. So I'm here to share some opinions that are backed by data. It's one thing to look at some of these global reports, Gartner, rest, have McKinsey. They do some global trends, but I would say something unique that would punctuate our conversation today is how I've been able to situate most of the data and also some local data as well, to give us a fair picture of what to expect 2025 in terms of HR practices and practices that would trends that would shape the workplace as we go into the year. It's a pleasure to be here, and let's just dive right into it. So by way of an overview of what we're going to discuss today, we're going to, first of all, like I said, contextualize the conversation within the context of the Nigerian labor market. Okay, we're not looking at the global market, we're just looking at the market as it were here in Nigeria. And then we'll dive into the key HR trends here in Nigeria for the year 2025. Then we could take some comments, Q&A. I'm sure we would all have, various perspectives to share, by the time the initial conversation is over. All right, so let's look at the labor market here in Nigeria, okay? Before we dive in, like I said, I love to be guided by data. There was a very useful report, Nigerian Workplace Report, beautiful report that was done by some individuals, and it proved very useful as a data source for this research. Looking at data over the years, it's like over a 10-year, almost 10-year period, our population, okay, when we look at the dependents, there's been an average growth rate about 2.2% between 2013 and 2022. Also, when you look at the labor force, the population that makes up the labor force, look at 15 to 64 years, that portion of the population has grown by almost 3% within the same period in view. However, interesting to note is that the average birth rate in Nigeria has declined by about 1.15%, between the same period in view. And the percentage of employers has barely grown by even 1%, right? Now, despite this minute growth in the percentage of employers, our labor force, which is the portion of our population that constitutes those who are within the age brackets of labor, okay? In Nigeria, that will be the legal age is 18 to 64, 65, okay? That bracket of our labor force has grown by 2%, which is double the amount of employers, more than double the amount of employers that have grown, okay? And the labor force participation rate is, this metric measures, so out of the labor force, okay, let's say we have a labor force of 100 million people, right? What percentage of those 100 million people are either actively looking for employment or gainfully employed? That's your labor force participation rate, okay? Nigeria, some people may argue 59 is healthy. Some people may argue that 59% is not healthy. It's neither here nor there, but I don't think 59 is a bad percentage. It can be better, but we have a labor force participation rate of 60. Let's just round it up to 60% approximately. So 60% of our labor force are actively employed or actively seeking for employment. What do all these data mean, right? Like I pointed out, our labor force and our population as a whole is growing disturbingly faster than the rates of jobs that are being created. All right. So what that means in simple terms is we should expect unemployment. We should expect our unemployment rate to grow because in as simple terms as possible, there are not enough jobs to go around the population. There are not enough jobs to go around the labor force that we have within the population. And that's the simple implication of all of these. All right. What more can we say is there? From a HR perspective, let's look at the period in view. What are the major reasons why people have left companies? 2023, 22, 21. Number one reason, a survey was done for about 2,700 respondents for this survey, and this survey was Nigeria, localized here in Nigeria. All right. Number one reason was better job offers. Number two was career advancement. Number three reason was bad leadership. Number four was poor company culture. Number five, work-life balance. Number six in there was relocation, Japa. Okay, many people would have thought Japa would be amongst the top three, but Japa was actually number six. Need for greater challenge was number seven. Conflicting workplace policies, number eight. Burnout, number nine. And number 10 on that list was educational reasons. All right. 53% of work mode was on site, whilst if you combine remote and hybrid, that comes about 47% of jobs were either remote or hybrid in the year 2023 and 2024. All right. When you look at employee duration, interestingly now, employee duration, most of the respondents have spent less than 1 year, or the largest portion of respondents have spent less than 1 year in a particular company. So as HR professionals, I think we should dump one question we ask candidates like, oh, it seems like you don't stay long in one particular employer, right? So because the average employment now is between 1 to and 3 years in a company, that person is now the outlier. Okay, so that's a mind shift we need to put in place. The top employee benefits, right? Within the year 2024 was health insurance, work laptop and phone, paid training and development, transportation allowance. Of course, transportation allowance is a given. When Mr. President assumed office and he made the now famous statement, fuel subsidy is no more, okay? That led to, coupled with the geometrical increase in the price of petrol, of course, so many companies naturally instituted a transport allowance for their employees. All right. Paid time off is also a top employee benefit. Parental leave, be it maternity, paternity leave, catered lunch, educational support, profit sharing, life insurance, gym membership, and stock options came last on the list of top employee benefits. All right, so what do people look out for in new roles? So when employees leave one job to another, what are the top things they look out for? Number one is the remuneration and benefits. Number two is professional development opportunity. Number three is the workplace, the company culture and value. Number four is the workplace flexibility. Number 5 is the location. Interestingly, employees are now increasingly concerned about the location of the office from where they live. All right. Job title and responsibilities. I've had employees or candidates turn down jobs because they didn't like the job title. All right. And I've had situations within 2024, 23, where we had to basically rework the job title to be able to attract the caliber of candidates that we wanted to attract for those roles. Okay, working hours and proximity. I mentioned proximity to home as well. So yeah, these are increasing concerns that have punctuated the previous year, and I don't think many of these concerns are going to go away in 2025. And then, what are the top reasons for unemployment? I mentioned unemployment will be a rising concern. All right. And the number one reason is, of course, unavailability of jobs, re-entering the workforce after maternity or paternity or study leave. Of course, after the Japa syndrome, of course, many of us are familiar with the Japada. All right. You have many people who previously Japad have gone out there, have seen that really the grass is not green over there. And now you have many Nigerians who want to jackpada. And in fact, the jackpada has already gone. So that is also exacerbating the unemployment situation in Nigeria. We celebrated the surprising availability of jobs that came up as a result of the Japa syndrome. Now, Jackpada is back and is here, and it's leading to unemployment. All right, insufficient, not enough demand. So some skills are not enough demand for some skills. The employees are not qualified enough for the jobs that are available. Many companies have outsourced many roles, many jobs, and that has led to unemployment. And in some rare situations, you have candidates that are overqualified for the available jobs. All right. So let's dive into the meat of the conversation today. What are the trends we need to pay attention to going into HR, going into 2025 as HR professionals, or as just professionals in all? I'll start off with this, okay? Democratized pay is the new normal. So gone are the days where when it comes to pay, salary is a one size fits all. You have a salary structure, and then you try to fit in candidates and employees into your existing into your existing pay structure. That doesn't work anymore. I'm sorry to say, right? We have to, as HR professionals, we have to be flexible, all right? I'll give practical example. You have somebody whose wife, for example, has a more superior HMO plan, okay? And the employee says they don't need your current HMO plan and they want it monetized. Okay, so gone are the days where you say, no, the HMO is there, you just have to use it or lose it, all right? Employees want to have a fair say in the pay elements and want to have some flexibility, all right? And there are many voices that have come to play a strong role in determining compensation and benefits, all right? Let's look at NLC. For example, in 2024, NLC advocated for the minimum wage. There were industrial actions to that effect. And that will not change, okay? NLC will continue to pressure government to implement and operationalize the new minimum wage structure, especially for states that have said they cannot afford it. All right, so the new minimum wage is here to stay. And I dare say, if the current inflation rate continues at this trend, I won't be surprised if NLC decides to push for another minimum wage ahead of the tenure that the current minimum wage should last. All right. Again, apart from the NLC, workers' unions for industries and organizations will continue to engage in collective bargaining to negotiate better pay in line with the current economic realities. Okay. Many people came to the stark realization last year that their take-home pay could barely take them home. All right. So for companies that have a structured workers' union, going into 2025, expect the worker union to put pressure on employers and organizations to, they'll lend a voice in compensation and determining compensation and benefits going into 2025. All right. Other platforms like Glassdoor, they will continue to foster transparency and empower employees to negotiate better pay for themselves. All right. So, I mean, if you want to know what your job pays, Glassdoor, Google your job, put it in there in the search criteria, you find out what the average pay for your job is. And then with that, you can do your pay comparison and find out whether you are above or below the median of what your job currently pays for. And with that, employees can come forward and push and negotiate for themselves better pay. We've seen that happen in 2024, and it's not going to change going into 2025. All right. Like I started off, there will be increased demand for personalized pay. All right. The one size fits all approach to your pay structure will not work. Within the company, you have two people within the same pay band who would have different take homes. Okay. An employee may come and say, I don't want your official car, I have my car. Can you monetize it? Employees will say they don't need your health plan. Can you monetize that health plan? So I think the point is that we should keep an open mind when it comes to pay. All right. It's no longer a dictatorship. We're not dictating pay anymore. It's become more transparent. There are now so many voices that play a role in determining pay. It's no longer just the employer's voice, all right? So that's something that we need to bear in mind when it comes to pay. Next, we'll look at so we'll also look at the fact that it's a new world of work, okay? The generational gap has never been this wide, all right? In some organizations, oh, by the way, 2025 has ushered in a new generation, all right? We had the Gen Z, we celebrated the Gen Z, we celebrated the Gen Alpha, all right? Now, 2025, every child born in 2025 is a Gen Beta, right? So let's all welcome the arrival of a new generation, the Gen Beta. All right. So we have so many generations at play right now. Okay. We have the baby boomers, the builders, the traditionalists, or the silent generation, as some people will call them. One thing I can say is that the builders, the boomers, and the Gen Xers, they are gradually exiting the companies and they are handing over the batons to the millennials. Hey, all the millennials in the house, can we have a hand raise? If we have millennials in the house, between the ages of 31 and 45. This year, 2025, is the year where many of us rise to leadership positions. All right, I can see some hands in the house. Beautiful. We have some, so millennials in the house, that's right. Proud millennials, this is our year, okay? The builders, if they are there, they would have retired by now. The boomers would have also retired by now. The Gen Xers, they will be doing what's it called? Succession plan. I have some Gen Zs giving side eye. Gen Zs, I'm coming to you. Just be patient. Be patient. All right. So for every millennial in the house, okay, I need to say this. You need to start developing your leadership potential. Okay, if you've not been doing it before now, you need to do it now like never before, because this is the period where succession planning is key. The Gen X are retiring, whether they like it or not. They are not as energetic as they used to. And the time of the millennials is now. Do not miss this do not miss this time. This is our season. This is our time. This year, expect to see more millennials rising to the top leadership positions of companies. All right. Now, what is the implication of all of this apart from succession planning? Gen Z, I have your time now. Okay. So Gen Z's in the house. Okay. Wow, this is a heavy thing I'm going to say. And forgive me if I'm going to sound a bit strong. I'll say this for Nigeria, okay? We missed something for the Gen Zs, okay? We missed something, and we missed something very important for the Gen Zs. We missed the mentorship, okay? Every Gen X I have the opportunity to speak to, I'm going to blame the Gen Xers, because the Gen Xers, and I know I'm going to sound very controversial, forgive me ahead, but I have to say some things as they are. The Gen X were responsible for raising the Gen Z. Okay? And I dare say I'm not satisfied with how the Gen X raised the Gen Z, because the boomers that raised the millennials did a very wonderful job. The boomers were tough. These were people that witnessed the Civil War. These were people that witnessed the World War II, if I remember, if my history is right. These were people that were tough, and they raised the millennials to be just as tough as them. They mentored the Gen X. The Gen X were raised to be very tough. Don't play with the Gen X. These were people that drank dirty tap water growing up. These were people that when they had injuries, they would rub sand on their injury instead of plaster. All right? You know, I have elder ones that, you know, are proper Gen X. They were tough, but I think maybe the Gen X felt they were raised too tough, and then they had a very, very laissez-faire approach in raising the Gen X. And I apologize to every Gen X in the house. Please don't censor me. My brother Yemi, if they censor me, I've asked for permission, but I must say some hard truths, all right? There is a big mentorship gap that we millennials and Gen Xers enjoyed, that I'm sorry to say is direly missing in the Gen Zs. Not all, but I'll say a large portion of the Gen Zs. The Gen Zs are bringing in a lot of innovation and trailblazing in the workplace, but they've missed some foundational truths. All right? You find out mental health challenges are largely predominant amongst the Gen Z because they lack a certain toughness, a certain grit that the Gen X and the Gen Ys have. I apologize. What I'm saying may not be soothing, but it's fact check me. The Gen Xers grew up in in an era where walking was not an exercise, where walking was a means of transportation. Some of us millennials grew up and experienced that time, that era where walking from point A to point B was a means of transportation, not an exercise. If you are lucky, you have a bicycle. A bicycle is not for exercise. A bicycle is a means of transportation. So they were naturally tough. They were naturally imbued with grit. That grit is lacking in the Gen Z. You put a Gen X or a millennial in a situation where they have to sink or swim, they will swim. The possibilities of them swimming are very high. But you put a Gen Z in a situation where they have to sink or swim, they will complain of stress, they will complain of mental health, they will complain of being stressed. And I'm wondering, where did all this come from? Somebody dropped the ball. And if I'm to put this hot potato anywhere, I'll put the hot potato on the Gen X because they were too laissez-faire on the Gen Zs. Now, it's not doom and gloom. There's a mandate for every millennial on the call. The mandate to mentor the Gen Z has never been this strong. All right? If there was a period where we could not play with coaching, mentoring, and training, we cannot do it now. We cannot make the same mistakes that the other generation X made. We can't make the same mistake that the boomers made. The boomers, the silent generation, they trained us well. When daddy comes into the house is quiet. Daddy uses eye to talk to us. He doesn't speak. He gives you one look and you know what he's trying to say. Oh, somebody says they love the table I'm shaking. I'm shaking it, yes. You know, I'm not going to mamby-pamby, but I have to say these truths. The boomers raised us well. They raised us in a generation where spare the rod and spoil the child was the mantra. But this Gen Z, many of them have never been disciplined in their life. And that lack of discipline is becoming obvious. They can't keep a job. They can't finish what they start. And I'm going to say every Gen Z in the house, please don't drop off the call. Hear me out. The Gen Zs we have today, I'm speaking of Nigeria in context, right? Hang on there, Gen Zs. Oh yeah, I love what Ochanya says. I can't take it syndrome. So thank God, some people are, what I'm saying is resonating in the house. The Gen Zs have this I can't take it syndrome, right? But you just have to take it. We were raised in a period, in an era of no pain, no gain. You make sacrifices for what you want. But this is a generation where the word sacrifice is so vague and meaningless to them. All right? And I'll say this before I move on from this point. The Gen Zs are not only ignorant, they are naive of how ignorant they are. And I'll say this, they think they know it, but they know little. The Gen Zs think they are the social media savvy generation. I'm going to correct you. The Gen Zs are not as social media savvy as they think they are. Look at the real influencers. I'm not talking of the skits makers or those doing comedy. The real global influencers, they are not Gen Z. They are millennials. And even people thought Gen X, were left behind in the social media bandwagon. Most of my mentors are Gen X, and they are all influencers on social media. Let's look at the Nigerian HR space. I would call an influencer in the social media, in the HR space in Nigeria, Yemi Fashion. He is not a Gen Z. He's not even a Gen Y. I would place him a solid Gen X. And he is extremely active on social media. He's someone I look up to as a mentor, right? The real influencers are the millennials. Thank you, Adedoju. The real global and national influencers are not the Gen Z. So Gen Z, you think you understand social media. You don't, you know social media, but you don't know the inner workings of social media. You don't, you think you do. It's not about skit making and twerking on TikTok. That is not influencing. The people that are really influencing. Okay, yeah, Yemi Fasha has claimed to be Gen Z. Okay, I stand corrected, Daniel. All right, I'm shooting missiles. Yes, twerking on TikTok is not influencing. When you talk about influencing, you are shaping thoughts. You are shaping thinking and thought patterns. It's not the Gen Zs, you are not doing that. Look at you, even in the sports media that we think the Gen Zs are pioneering. Who are the real owners of the football club? Who are the real Olakunle Shoriyan? Exactly. Shoriyan is not a Gen Z. Shoriyan is not even a millennial. These are the people that have real content. Thank you very much. All right. So, okay, I should take it easy on the Gen Z. They'll be feeling as a target. Okay, sorry. Let me try and be constructive here. All right. My point is, Gen Zs need mentoring. They need coaching. Look at technology, look at tech space. Most of the apps you see out there were built by millennials or are built by millennials. Okay. They were not built by Gen Zs, they were built by millennials. All right? I will ask the Gen Zs this question: what are you creating? You're not creating much. You're living off what the Gen Zs, sorry, what the Gen Ys, the millennials, and the Gen X have created. So this is a wake-up call to every millennial, every Gen Z out there. You need to be humble. Now, let me flip the script. I'm going to leave the Gen Zs, okay? For those of us millennials and Gen Xers on the call, right? We need a new thinking hat, okay? For millennials, I'm sorry, for Gen Zs, you know what we describe you guys as? We describe you guys as the most recalcitrant, self-centered people who just do not want to work. So I'm sorry, but that's what it is. That is our perspective of the Gen Z. Gen Alphas are still children. We are watching them. And the Gen Beta, welcome on board. Okay? So, what do we need to do? All right, I'll share this personal example. I was recruiting recently, and of course, it was for a media company. So most of the candidates were all Gen Zs. Now I'm saying this so millennials and Gen Xers, it will help reduce our culture shock, okay? They came to the interview. In fact, one of them came to the interview wearing a crop top, okay? Heavily made up, wearing a crop top. And the truth is that's dressing to the Gen Zs, okay? If you expect a Gen Z to come for an interview wearing a suit, a tie, a jacket, you're keeping your hopes, you're not being realistic, okay? They will come for interviews with their tattoos, visible tattoos. They will come with their crop tops. They will come with their slangs, and they're doing it not because they mean to be unconventional, but they're just not used to conventions, okay? Oh yeah, thank you, Stella Maris. They will come with their nose piercings, okay? And if the crop top is high enough, you see the piercings on their belly button as well, okay? You will see their tattoos, you would see it all, okay? So just be prepared. That's if you are lucky that they come in physically, all right? There was another role I was interviewing for, and all the candidates told me, if I'm not doing the interview virtually, they're not coming, okay? I had to do the interview virtually for all of them, down to the final stage. And during the interview, all right, practical and being real and factual, there was she would work on site. She agreed to take half pay to work hybrid and remote. So what we need to know is that what motivates the Gen Z is completely different from what motivates the millennial, the Gen X, or the baby boomer. All right? In fact, the Gen Zs will choose to be jobless than to work for a company that they don't like. All right? So these are things that we need to bear in mind going forward. Okay? Because of the sensitivity of a client I was recruiting for at one point in time, in the interview, I had to ask for the social media handles of these Gen Z candidates, just to be sure that they are not dancing naked on social media, on their different social media handles, because the client I was recruiting for could not afford to be associated with any sultry content like that. So social media is going to be a veritable recruitment tool. It's going to be part of the selection process. I know of somebody who got offered a job with a multinational, and some days to the person's resumption, the company withdrew the job offer because that particular person, while they were in school, they made disparaging comments about the multinational on one of his social media handles. Okay, so what we do on social media lives on after us. So let's just pay attention to that. So the generational gap is real, and we're going to have to bear this in mind. So succession planning, let us keep an open mind, okay? The Gen Zs are not going to, they want to set new trends. They're not comfortable with conventions. For the Gen Zs, we have a certain perspective of you, and you need to work hard to change the narrative, okay? All right. All right, so let's move on before it gets, it gets too heated. All right, so another trend that is going to definitely be here to stay is home sweet office, okay? Remote and hybrid work is not a nice to have. It's literally going to be a must have, okay? For companies, in 2025, we'll see most of the companies that force a full return to office will suffer, right? Because the vast majority of organizations would adopt hybrid. Hybrid is here to stay. Every time I have the opportunity to speak, I say hybrid is the best of both worlds. It's the best of remote world. It's the best of on-site world. It's the sweet in between. All right. So let us not think that hybrid is going to go away anytime soon. Okay. On. Just to also point out, Lagos State government in 2024 have already piloted hybrid work model for the civil servants. I envisage that other states would ride on the success of the hybrid work model in Lagos State and may look to adopt same. I won't be surprised if the federal government also explores hybrid work models for some of their civil servants as well. So if the government, who is the largest employer of labor, can embrace hybrid, then I do not think any private organization that says hybrid is impractical is doing anything other than, acting like an ostrich and burying its head in the sand. So hybrid is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. So let us all say welcome to Home Sweet Office. All right. So that integration between work. So instead of work-life balance, you have work-life integration. That is the mantra going forward. All right. So the gig economy will continue to grow. The gig economy started in COVID, right? And ever since COVID, the gig economy has continuously grown. According to the World Bank, all right, Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa account for 80% of the flow to the gig platforms in sub-Saharan African countries, all right? And that is going to grow even in 2025. With the advent of technology is becoming more and more ubiquitous. AI is making things even a lot easier. So it's going to contribute more and more to the gig economy. Look, my last recruitment campaign, I would say 70% of the candidates that I interviewed told me, and I'm saying this for real as someone who does recruitment professionally, right? 70% of the candidates 70 or 80% of the candidates that I interviewed said they were not going to resign their current job, that they are willing to take on this new job in addition to their current job. In fact, some of the candidates declared their side gigs, okay, during the interview, and they stated clearly that they are not going to stop their side gig for the main job. So you see that portion of employment contracts that states you cannot work for another company while working for us, moonlighting, your policy against moonlighting, those things, those paradigms are going to have to change because the gig economy is here to stay. Of course, there are certain legal and ethical ramifications to it because many of the gig workers want to have the full benefits of a full-time worker. Take, for example, the drivers on the ride-hailing platforms, Uber, Bolt, Taxify, sorry, it's not Bolt, InDrive, and all. Even though they are all gig workers, right? They are the perfect example of gig workers. They are not your traditional full-time workers, right? They are not your traditional full-time workers. They are part-time or gig workers. But they insisted that they wanted the benefits that are accrued to a full-time worker. They want insurance, they want HMO, they want health, medical care, they want the company to take care of them as they would take care of a full-time employee. So those are some of, and our labor law is yet to clearly define what a gig worker is and the rights of a gig worker, because currently, our labor law only recognizes a contract of service and a contract for service. All right. So what that means is the labor law only recognizes an employee and an independent contractor. Okay. Oh, great. Rabiu says that how can people in marine sector enjoy the gig? All right, maybe during the Q&A section, we can address that question. But point is, the gig economy is growing, right? And it's not going away. It's going to become more and more ubiquitous going into 2025. So don't be surprised where you will see employees advertising their side businesses on their WhatsApp platform. You see an employee working for you full-time, advertising their hair business, or an employee working for you full-time, advertising properties that they are selling. They are doing part-time real estate agents. They are working for you full-time and they're advertising their bead-making business, all right? Let us, learn to look away, okay? Don't major in the minor and minor in the major, okay? Keep your eyes off your employees' PP. Allow them, okay? So let's move on. We'll also look at the fact that AI is, AI is here, and it's also another genie that came out of the bottle and is not going back in, okay? So the way we live and work has already begun to change because of AI, and Nigeria is no exception, okay? AI is changing the landscape of the Nigerian job market. It's creating new job opportunities while disrupting many traditional jobs. So yes, technology and AI is taking over certain jobs, right? But it's also creating new ones. Many jobs like customer care, have been automated by AI, virtual assistants, and all the likes, okay? But then, it has also given rise to many, many new jobs. There's a growing demand for specialists in the fields that are connected to technology and AI. I just got one recruitment, somebody asked for some help in a recruitment campaign, all tech roles, all right? So there'll be increased demands for data scientists, machine learning engineers, and AI developers. There's been an increasing demand for these type of jobs. All right. So while the full impact of AI on the job market is yet to be realized, it is crucial to know that even in Nigeria, we are making significant investments in education and training programs aimed at creating the supportive environment that encourages technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. All right, so there'll be more trainings in AI, there'll be more jobs in AI. Let's just keep our eye on that. All right, so performance management is also not left out in this bandwagon. So a survey was done in 2024, and the outcome of this survey that was done has set the stage for what performance management is going to look like going forward, all right? So it's going to become punctuated with more frequent and continuous feedback. No longer will feedback be once a year or twice a year, okay? There would be several forums for feedback where employees will get feedback on the go. So now you have monthly performance reviews, quarterly performance reviews, biannual performance reviews, annual performance reviews, weekly check-ins, daily check-ins, all of these pulse checks, regular checks, will give employee, I dare say, real-time feedback on their performance. And that is what the world is going to, because the annual and biannual performance appraisals are post-mortem exercises. The deed has already been done, you're just carrying out a post-mortem exercise. Nothing much can be done at that point in time. So the thoughts and the paradigm are shifting against the annual or biannual to more frequent and continuous feedback, okay? Manager training is going to be an addition to performance management. What else? More managers training, frequent and natural conversations. Performance management will be more aligned with business goals. It's going to be aimed at boosting employee performance, not just being a punitive measure. All right, so prior to now, performance appraisals have been viewed more as a punitive measure to punish non-performance rather than boosting employee performance, okay? Technology is improving more and more. There are so many technology platforms that are automating their performance management process, and that is going to continue. There will be a focus more on employee experience, employee well-being. All right, it's collective and data-based as against subjectivity, because prior to now, it's been the prerogative of the subjective discretion of the line manager. All right, it's going to become more objective and data-driven. It's going to be more integrated with your employee engagement data. And of course, it will increasingly be based on verbal or written conversations rather than performance ratings. All right, it's going to become less formal and structured. All right, more project-based and all right. So those are the things to look out for in performance management. All right. What next? Okay, so employee experience playbook is going to change. All right. We cannot, like I always say, for those that have listened to me, we can't pour new wine in old wineskins, okay? There's a new wine of employee engagement, all right? And we need to approach it with a different mindset. Workers will begin to demand better treatment for themselves. And I'll say this, these Gen Zs, sorry, I'm back to Gen Z matter. You have to be very careful, all right? You see, unlike the millennials and the Gen X, you could bully the millennials or the Gen X, and because of the natural toughness that we were trained with, right? We are more tolerant of toxic behavior and toxic treatment. I'll state this, and it's a good thing. The Gen Zs are not as tolerant of toxic behavior and treatment as millennials and Gen X. All right? You shout at them, you scream at them. The next thing, they are going to switch on a ring light, and you see your company trending on Instablog and what do you call it? What's the name of all those other um, um, those other sites? They've left my mind right now. So you give them a query, and they will respond to your query on GistLover. Oh, Titi, thank you. They will answer your query on GistLover. You invite them for disciplinary hearing. The next thing, they are crying on TikTok and trending, and your company is trending. All right. And the next thing, very dark man has bought their matter, and very dark man will use your company to trend for nothing. All right. So they are they are not as tolerant of toxic treatments. Okay, so in fact, there's a way you would try to discipline them, and the next thing, you see, I had a friend and the next thing, they are complaining of mental health, and the next thing, you will end up being the victim of, a counter accusation. All right, so we need to, as HR professionals, I like to say that we are literally walking on eggshells when it comes to dealing with, employee experience now. Because one mistake, they will call you out. One little mistake, one very small mistake, they will not wait. They are keyboard warriors, okay? And don't challenge them on the keyboard. They will call you out. And, your white will not still be white at the end of that battle with them, okay? So don't even start. Okay. We need to engage. Employee engagement and well-being will matter more. Okay. Moonlighting is the new normal. I've said this earlier on, just look away. Learn to look away. It's an employee market. All right. The influence of social media will continue to be a front burner. All right. I would say transgender rights, but with the advent of Donald Trump and, what he said when he said in America there will only be two genders now going forward. I don't know what the whole transgender conversation will look like. All right. Rabi says we need to be more afraid of this Gen Z because one of my posts said it's very hard to hand over his company to his children because they are not ready to face. Yeah, that just says it talks about the succession planning, the coaching, the mentoring that needs to happen for the Gen Zs to become fully equipped to make it in the world of work. Thank you for that, Rabi. All right, so I was talking about the transgender situation. Irrespective of Trump, the transgender situation is a white is an elephant um is an elephant in the room. Okay. People now choose to identify as different things. Okay. So you hired somebody as Patrick, and then 2 years down the line, Patrick says he now identifies as Patricia. Okay. I don't know. HR, what do we make of this? I don't have this answer. I wish I did. Okay. What do we do? That's even good. Okay. What if Charles, for example, says he now chooses to identify as Bingo? For those that don't know, Bingo is the most popular name of a dog. Okay. So Charles now decides to identify as Bingo. HR, Biko, what do we do? All right. It's a new world we found ourselves in, okay? And they are um GME Tina, I wish it was so easy. I wish it was so easy, okay? So you have these things going on. And again, you have an employee who is male by birth, but who wants to come to the office dressed as a female. Okay, what do we do? Do we amend our dress code policy? I mean, it's all humorous right now until it happens. Okay, what if Patrick, who identifies as Patricia, wants to use the female restroom? What are you going to do? It's not, it's no longer out there. It's no longer an abroad problem, okay? It's now a local problem, except you want to pretend it doesn't exist, but it exists now. Yeah, so Abigail, you say not in Nigeria, though. It is here. Maybe not in your own corner of Nigeria, but in some other corners of Nigeria, it is pretty ubiquitous and it is becoming more and more prominent. So whether we like it or not, maybe not in 2025, but in some companies in 2025, we will have to deal with this, okay? And we need to have a plan in place to deal with it when it comes. So, and I'll also finally talk about the potential impact of the new tax bill in Nigeria, okay? For those of us that do not know, there is a tax bill that is currently being read in the House. And there are many, many potential impacts that tax bill will have. All right. There's a potential for increased tax relief. So that bill may introduce a higher tax-free threshold. It will offer greater relief to low-income earners. But what that means is those who earn more will now pay much more. Okay. it's going to, those who earn more would have a higher tax liability. All right. It also proposes a review of the existing tax bands and rates. And also it explores revisions to allowances, tax deductions, and potentially introduce new incentives for specific behaviors like education, healthcare, or investments. So these are some of the trends, and I tried as much as possible to localize all of these my recommendations to what is obtainable here in the Nigerian labor market. So at this junction, if you have questions, comments, even though I've tried as much as possible to attend to the comments as I've been seeing them. But if we have comments, questions, I think we could take the questions and comments now. I think this has been very engaging. Thank you all for the super engagements. Yemi, are you there? This says transgender is a disease that
Good
will
evening,
pass like
sir.
Ebola. Good evening.
Yeah, sorry. Dr. Adeosun is unfortunately off the call. Network threw him off.
Okay, no, that's
And the
fine.
room is already at maximum capacity, so he's not been able to join back.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So I'll round off. So
Okay.
please, everyone, just as Mr. Patrick has said, if you have questions, please indicate by a raise of hand, or you can drop it in the comment section, whichever one you prefer.
Okay, Sean asked a question. Says, how do we handle staff that have side businesses, especially since they will use the company's time? My advice to you is look away. Look away. Okay. So long as they are doing their job, so long as it's not affecting their job, if you interfere with their side business, you will lose them. So if you are not ready to lose them, look away and focus on their job. Are they doing their job? Are they delivering at their current job? If they are, look, let it go. Just let it go. That's my suggestion, because look, doctors have side gig, lawyers have side gig. Who is it? We HR professionals on the call, we all have side gig. We all have side gig. Accountants have side gig. Who do you want to sack? How many people do you want to sack? Your sales business development team, they have side gig. They are selling for you, and they are doing. So what do you want to do? I mean, you sack everybody, and the new people you hire, they will still have side gig. So let it go. How do you handle overqualified candidates? Ask them if they are ready to take the job. It's tough out there, but if they are willing to take the job, then do it. Have you forgotten the very, very popular case where Dangote Industries was hiring truck drivers, right? You had people with PhDs applying for the job of a truck driver, okay? So it's what it is, okay? If they're willing to take the job, then let them. Because if you do that, hey, Francis, I caught you. Well done. Don't worry, Francis, your secret is safe with us, okay? Yeah. How do you handle employers that are foreigners and want to enforce traditional work mode and not conform? Reality will hit them gradually. Look, when the reality hits them, when you find out that you can't even invite candidates for interview, if it is not a hybrid job, they will face, you see, reality is the eye opener that nobody can run away from. Okay? Good. Side hustle is a survival skill in Nigeria. I agree with Mercy Chialuka. It's a survival skill. So, yeah. Any other question, comment? Okay,
Okay,
do
so
you
yeah,
need
I can see another one.
Yeah, Adejoju says, is it okay for two people in same company to earn differently? Yes. I'll repeat, yes. If you hire a finance manager A and finance manager B, and finance manager A says, I don't want an official car. Let's imagine he's entitled to an official car worth 25 million naira, amortized over a period of 5 years at an annual value of 5 million naira per annum. And finance manager A states categorically, I have a car. I don't want an official car. Monetize it and give it to me. So what will happen is that 5 million naira for the official car, the annual sum of 5 million naira for the official car will be added to his salary. That benefit has become monetized. He's going to earn more than finance manager B, naturally, because finance manager B has collected official car, but finance manager A did not collect the official car. What if finance manager B says, my wife has a comprehensive HMO in her company. I don't want HMO. And let's imagine he's entitled to 2.5 million naira per annum as his HMO allowance, or rather the BIK for his HMO. And he says monetize it. He's going to get that money and he's going to earn more than his colleague on the same level who did not monetize his HMO allowance, or HMO benefits rather. Okay, so yeah, it is possible for two employees on the same grade level to earn different take-home pay. All right. Is it okay to advise management to encourage employees to project the organization on LinkedIn, like following their page, liking, reposting? Yes. So social media, like I said in the presentation, it plays a big role in employment. Yes, it is the employee's personal social media page. Okay. You cannot enforce it, yes, but you can employ moral suasion, okay? My own suggested approach is to use moral suasion. Hey guys, why don't we like, promote the company, give this post by the company a like, but it's not a KPI, okay? I think it's toxic for us to punish employees for not following the company's social media handles or liking posts by the company. But yes, I mean, the company is paying everybody's salary, it's putting food on the table. I think it's a sign of a good organizational citizen for everybody to support the social media handles of the company. I think so, but I don't think it's enforceable. What can be employed is moral suasion, not enforceable like disciplinary action if the employee does not follow the company on their social media handle. Yeah, it's voluntary. Okay. What happens when the company does not have a salary structure and will depend on how well employees negotiate their offer? Chinelo, every company should have a salary structure. If there is no salary structure, build one. Build one. Ensure you build one. All right. What of companies that tie a benefit to social media engagement? Yes, you can tie a benefit to social media engagement. You can reward employees to promote a particular behavior. I support that. But what I don't support is punishing employees for not engaging. It's their personal social media handle, right? I'm not sure I support punishing the employees. Yes, you can reward those that do it to promote the behavior. All is fair. But why would a company punish me for not using my personal Instagram handle to like the company's page? Yes, as an organizational citizen, if I believe in the business and the mission of my company, I would naturally do it. But if I don't, then I don't think I should be punished for not doing it. I'm just saying, that's my own perspective. All right. I spoke about monetizing certain benefits. Can this be done in all organizations? I don't see why not, except public sector, where I think is a little more bureaucratic, and doing that will be will go through a little more hoops to get that done. Okay. What else? Any other question, comment? What about in a case where salary difference between two employees same level is based on their negotiation ability? Yes, there is room for negotiation, but there should still be a pay band. There should be a minimum and a maximum range within which that negotiation can happen. Okay? But you can't just it cannot just be floating like a dollar. Okay? You cannot float your salary structure like you're floating the dollar. All right, there should be a pay structure. Within the pay structure, there will be a pay range. All right, the pay range will have a minimum, a medium, a midpoint, and a maximum point, and maybe some other levels in between. All right, and within this pay band, you can now negotiate within that band. But you cannot just negotiate out of thin air. No, I disagree. You must have a structure, you must have a band, you must have a pay range within which negotiation will happen. Yeah, thank you. Ochanya has seconded my position. All right. Marvelous is asking, how do you manage a situation where monthly cycle to a payroll cycle that cuts across months? Okay, 1st to 30th, or 15th to 15th. It's still monthly. So you see, the labor law does not state that salary should be paid at the end of the month. The labor law states that salary should be paid on a monthly basis. So if your month starts from 15th or your month starts from 1st, 6 pieces, half a dozen. That's my position on that. All right. Okay. Okay, so, all right, Prof, thank you. I don't know, how much time do we have left?
Maybe 10
Once,
max.
once you're done, sir. Okay, doctor is back.
Okay. I think maybe we should focus our questions on the topic for today, which is HR trends, okay? We're asking so many questions, and some of them are not really tied to today's topic. Maybe we could have a topic separately for these questions, or if you want to reach out to me personally, you could reach out to me personally. I'm happy to, but I think I'll constrain myself to questions that relate to today's topic so that we can better manage the time set aside for today's session. Wow, we have many comp and ben questions here, Prof. Are you sure we won't have a session specific for comp and ben?
We
Hello?
have sessions on comp and ben. They should go to the YouTube channel and watch.
Yeah. All right. So that's fine. Maybe Prof can do a session 2025 for comp and ben where we could sit down and trash out these issues. We have so many comp and ben questions here. All right, my Instagram, LinkedIn, look me up on LinkedIn, Patrick Umar Adiasong. Instagram is Patrick _ hold on. I'm sorry, I'm a millennial. I'm not that social media. I'm an old millennial. Let me check this. Hold on. My Instagram handle is okay. Patrick Umar Diasong. Just look up Patrick Umar Diasong on Instagram. Akam Patrick Umar Diasong. On LinkedIn, Patrick Umar Diasong. On Threads is Patrick_Umar. Yeah. And I'm happy to share my contact details. You want to shoot me an email, patrickumar@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out if you need further support or you have further questions.
We have one or two questions from Sheo and Francis. I think they are very related, and I suggest we consider taking them.
Okay, how do we introduce these trends to management who are old school? For example, not wanting hybrid work life and are losing staff to that. Show them the data. Like I said when I started this session, anybody without data, or without data, you are just another person with an opinion, okay? Data doesn't lie, which is why I started with data. All right, show them the data. Our offer rejection rate is this. The number one reason for rejection of offers is, right, they eventually get with it. They would see reason, okay? Francis says, how do you advise we handle a situation where the employer is not willing to adapt to the hybrid? Same thing, show them the data. Data does not lie. Without data, you're just another person with an opinion. All right, I think we are time well spent for today. At this junction, Prof.
Okay,
Thank you very much
everyone,
for
I
having me
think
on your
at this
platform.
point you can
Thank you.
unmute. Yes, everyone, please unmute. Our usual tradition, unmute and say a well-deserving thank you to our magnanimous facilitator. Thank you very much, Mr. Umo. We're grateful. We can unmute, please unmute. Unmute and just say thank yous and good night.
Thank you
so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Yemi. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
Yemi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick.